guys, my name is Kayla. I'm an education officer at the Lone Pine Koala Sanctuary. This week we are talking all about different types of animal body coverings and how those body coverings help an animal to survive. Today we are going to be looking at the body covering that all reptiles have. So this covers their bodies and it helps to protect them. It can also help to camouflage. It can help with the way that they move. And I'm talking about reptiles' scales or scaly skin. Scales are super amazing. And actually, if you all feel your fingernails right now, notice they feel quite hard and smooth. They're actually made out of the same thing as a reptile's scales. It's called keratin, and it also makes our hair. It's pretty amazing stuff. I'm sure you can all guess which type of reptile this scaly skin came from. This is from a snake. One thing about reptiles is as they grow, they will shed off their old scales, leave them behind, and have new scales underneath. And the reason they do this is because as a snake or a lizard grows, their body gets bigger, and their scales can maybe stretch a little bit, but the scales don't get bigger, so they start to get quite tight, and they've got to peel them off so that they can keep growing. We actually shed our skin as well. We can't see when we shed our skin because it comes off in just tiny little flakes. We don't peel it all off like a snake. That'd be a bit weird. But reptiles keep growing for their whole lives. So if they've got plenty of food to eat and are happy in their habitat, they will keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's kind of like our clothes or our shoes. You don't still wear the same shoes that you did when you were a baby. Our feet are getting bigger, and you've got to keep buying new shoes and clothes that fit. So I have a bit of a challenge for you today. I have collected some of my favorite shed scales from some reptiles around Lone Pine. I'm going to show you each of those sheds, and I want to see if you can match them up with the animal that they came from. All right, let's get started. All right, our first set of mystery scales are these ones right here. So, this isn't really a long bit of scales like this one from the snake, so you might think a little bit about that. They're also really big, chunky scales. If you look very closely, it actually almost looks like a suit of armor. So these must be very good for protection. They're very chunky and bumpy scales. So that's number one. Mystery scales number 2 from a little snake. You can actually see the head on this side all the way down to the tail on this side. Now something really cool about snake scales is, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but snakes don't blink. They don't actually have eyelids. Instead, they have a clear scale that covers each of their eyes, and when they shed their scales, that clear scale pops off. So you can actually see on this one, well, I can see looking very closely, the little eye covering scales, which is very cool. All right, next, some very different looking scales. Have a look at this one. So this is a single scale that has come from a reptile. Got a few more as well. So these scales would fit together and form or cover a protective shell over this reptile, which I think might be a good clue. That's number 3. All right, our last mystery scales are these ones right here. Slightly bigger snake shed. This one's really cool because if you look closely, you can actually see the mouth of the snake that's open. So when snakes shed their scales, theirs come off all in one piece, kind of like peeled off like a banana or like pulling a sock off your foot. Whereas when lizards shed their scales, they usually come off in chunks or in pieces, maybe like one of the other mystery scales that you saw. All right, so the mystery animals that you have to choose from that you can match up, we've got a little brown tree snake, a shingleback lizard, a turtle, and the most venomous land snake in the world, the inland taipan. So, have a think about those scales that you've seen. Have a think about the animals. We'll post some pictures as well to help you, and you can put your guesses down in the comments section below. And next time, we'll meet a couple of scaly friends. Bye! Hi guys, this is Kayla, and I've brought along my friend Peter, the Hosmer's skink. I hope you all did well with your matching challenge, matching up the different scales to the different reptiles. Now I brought out Peter because I reckon he has some of the coolest scales of any lizard. Some lizards and snakes have really smooth, soft scales, but Peter's scales are actually really, really spiky. If I pat him this way, it's pretty smooth, but if I tried to go the other way, I would get poked. Each scale has little sharp spikes sticking out of it. Now, his scales are really important to help protect him and keep him safe from predators. Hosmer's skinks live in little family groups or colonies in rocky, cliffy areas with lots of deep little cracks in the rocks. If they're frightened or if there's a predator, the Hosmer skink will run into the rocks, they'll sneak down into one of those little cracks in the rocks, and they puff their body up. So they go, and they make themselves big, and the spikes make them stick into the crack in the rock, so they're pretty much impossible to remove. So their spikes are really, really good for protection and for helping them to hide. They also live in more dry regions, so the color of his scales also help him to camouflage. He actually almost camouflages with my shirt a little bit there. We're almost the same color. But scales can also help an animal with camouflage. He's very, very cute. I think he's got a face like a little puppy. He's just a bit adorable. He is a member of the blue-tongued family of lizards, so if he does stick out his little tongue, you'd see that it is quite blue, just like a blue-tongued lizard that you might find in your own backyard. So, he's a very cool example of a scaly reptile with some really awesome scales that help him to survive in his habitat. Thanks for saying hi to us today, and hope you have a good day. Bye!